Okay, so we've just seen Dance of the Devil. How was it seeing it on a okay size screen?
It's alright. I mean, like, it's my
It's
first
all
time seeing it on a
All
big
right.
screen. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's nice to see it on a big screen. Like, I mean, I've seen it like on a monitor for like the past like 3 months, and so it's nice to just kind of get a bigger picture.
so, for the benefit of the audience, tell us who you are and what your involvement was in the film.
Well, I'm Camila Basora, and I am the producer and I guess editor as well.
Yeah, and I'm Tim, and I'm the writer director. Of the thing.
Editor as well.
Yeah, an editor.
And tell us about where the idea of the project came from.
It's interesting because it's like it just kind of like came to me like just like randomly, but I guess like I was like watching a lot of like horror films at the time, like a lot of like possession stuff, and I was living in North London, and we had like a massive like rat infestation. We had like loads of like rat inspectors, exterminators, I guess, like coming around, and I was like, well, you know, like being an exorcist is not really like that dissimilar from kind of like working in pest control. It's all like very kind of like nitty gritty, just come around like, you know, digging the gutters and and trying to get like, you know, like whatever you don't want in your house out of the house, and you know, just kind of married those two, and yeah, we had loads of builders as well. The house was like falling apart. It was a massive shithole, but like, you know, and so just like having loads of like burly like Cockney guys coming over, like that kind of birthed the character like Marcus, and like I worked with Dean before in like my first short film, like still haven't edited together yet. I mean, like this came out before, but yeah, and I just kind of wrote it for him because I thought it would be very good for the role and could do the character justice.
Yeah, Dean is a very good person to call on to deliver, isn't he, every time. I appreciate you said that you worked with him before, but how did you first meet up with Dean?
Star Now.
Okay.
The ultimate platform. But yeah, no, it's just like one of those like random like actor
Casting
like,
platforms.
the casting platforms. Just kind of saw him like sending like audition for like, my previous film before, and I was like, it's pretty funny. Like, so just kind of went with him.
And I really enjoyed I'm sure everyone enjoyed the humour, but the humour in there was really good. Do you find it hard to write humour and for it to hit?
I mean, it's a very difficult question. I mean, like humor is very subjective anyway, but I don't know. Like sometimes like you write something, you think it's funny, but then you just go over it, like you show it to people, and it's just like not a few laughs, and so it's kind of like something that you have to like work on quite a lot, and it's, you know, it's quite different to like kind of being funny in person, where it's, you know, like stuff there's, you know, you can just say something very quippy and that'll be funny, but with like jokes in films, you obviously kind of have to like churn it out and like work on one joke for so long, and it's, you know, can be difficult sometimes to just kind of like remember if it's funny or not, just because you've seen it so many times. But I mean, like you pull through. It's kind of like it's a bit corny, but like, a bit of like you know, it can be an instinct. But you know.
And how long did the shoot take?
Over to you.
Yeah, so I think this is the quickest turnaround I've ever had, or in general for people who produce and make films. You'll think we put it all together from pre-production to shooting in like 3 weeks.
Okay.
We shot it in 4 days, but they were really short days. It was like 6-hour days because it was all night shoots, and we didn't want to, you know, keep shooting till like 3-4 a.m. So it's over the span of 4 days, and yeah, for being something that was put together so last minute, not last minute like recklessly, but just to be clear, but something that just, you know, was like really tight time frame for pre-production, and really happy with what came out in the end, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's completely understandable. What about some of the other cast? So in terms of recruiting your cast for that, how did you go about that process?
So similar to how he met Dean at first, we used casting platforms. So Dean was already essentially on board from the beginning. He wrote the role for Dean. He told Dean about it, and Dean was immediately like, I'm in, I love this, I'll do it. And so we put out a casting call for, let's say for Pete and Richie on platforms like Star Now, Backstage, Spotlight, etc. And you know, the usual flood of people coming in, you filter it. And we'd start with a general Zoom audition, but we made sure to have Dean on board because since it's a comedy, and as we were saying, comedy is so hard to write, and it's very particular, especially the comedy that we have, it's very dry, and it's gonna be very heavily based on the dynamic between the actors. So it was very important for us to have Dean there during the auditions as well, so that they could be playing off each other for the scenes that we gave them. And there's actually quite a bit of improv as well that was done in the film. So we thought it was important as well to make sure that we gave an improv session to the actors during the audition as well. And that's how we went about it. So we had Dean on board, and we made sure to have Dean collaboratively also in the decision process. After each audition session, we'd have a chat with him and just ask him what he thought, what he felt, did he feel good acting or collaborating with them. And it was, it weighed significantly as well in our decision. And that's how it went for all the characters.
And so now, I guess, for you guys, it's the process of submitting to film festivals. Is that your plan, or are you going to do something else?
Yeah, we're definitely thinking of, festivals. Money is tight, cost of living and all, but, yeah, we're definitely thinking about it, but, maybe, towards, later summer, but we've kind of been mostly, shopping about different, production companies, sales agencies, trying to get it made. Made a bit of progress, but obviously both of us have, full-time work, so it's a bit of a tough one, but, it'll work out at the end, I'm sure. But yeah, no, festivals definitely down the line.
Have we got any questions out there from the audience? Don't be shy. And one at the front.
What was your greatest learning curve in doing this?
Greatest learning curve. I think we could both answer that in different ways, but greatest learning curve, I think, was definitely, which I realized only much later down the line, to have production documents. Because this was, like I said, put together in 3 weeks, and this was kind of our dissertation project as well mainly his, for our course at London Film School. And we didn't really need to submit any documentation. It was just submit the film along with whatever else we needed. But later down the line, we wanted to submit it to our graduation showcase for London Film School, and then it was just a bunch of really technical questions about, do you have this, do you have the location permissions, do you have the contracts, etc. And since it was put together in 3 weeks, I, which I know it's not very professional for a producer, I have done it for all my other shorts, but for just this, since we had such a tight deadline for the dissertation, and it was such a low budget, such on the fly, we had great friends and great support team who gave a lot of resources to get this done as well. The fact that we got it done, I'm like, that's all that matters. And then trying to trace your steps back 5 months later when people are asking for documentation is definitely not easy. So I would say that would be the biggest thing I learned, from that is from the beginning, even if you don't know what's going to happen after, because it's not like we plan to submit this for our showcase or even to have it here. I think having appropriate and documentation is important.
Yeah, I agree. For me, probably directing actually. The last thing I made, it was very much kind of you just get a camera, get a few people around together, and shoot wherever the script is getting written on the day. Because I did business management at uni, so it's not really my sort of main profession. But this time around, I kind of wanted to make something very lean, very funny, and actually do it proper. And and it's just working with actors, again, Camila mentioned, loads of improvisation, and I just realized how important it actually is to making it all kind of feel organic. And sometimes you're on set and you just, Dean would come up to me and say something funny and quite quippy, and I'm like, oh, actually, let's develop on that and build on that, and I'll get Flynn along, the guy who played Pete, the ginger guy, and and then we'll just start riffing, and then we'll just film it. So yeah, and also managing it was 20 people on the team, 16.
It was between 16 and 20, I'd say, including cast occasionally.
Yeah.
But which I think it's obviously a small crew, but we also had tight locations, small spaces.
It's 5 people trying to get down the corridors. It's mad. But
yeah.
With a 5K camera being held, it's a bit of a nerve-wracking experience trying to not knock it over.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
But also, in general, just the process of putting together, like I said, it was done in 3 weeks, but what could have easily been a disaster to put together in 3 weeks was oddly just really thrilling and adrenaline-filled and it worked out perfectly. So I feel like, I don't know, we were really lucky with how it turned out in the end.
Any other questions out there? Oh.
Would you make it into a film or a TV show?
Yeah, like in my we're kind of like relatively split on it, but like for different reasons. But like in my mind, it's always a feature for me personally, because I think like as short as 10 minutes, like it's funny, like Exorcist, like mocking around. But I think if I kind of always had in mind like a development where you kind of like take it a bit further and add a bit more kind of like not just like dark comedy, but also like a bit of emotional depth to the characters, and like give them arcs that do like resonate with people, and add themes that are also like relevant at the time, but again just resonate. And I like the idea of having like a solid ending for the characters. Maybe not necessarily like killing one of them off, but it's like something where you can see it's like there's a start and then there's the end, and all good. Like series, it's like a lot of series nowadays just drag on so much. I work in like television, by the way, so I see a lot of stuff where it's just like, do you really need like a season 6? Like in most cases you really don't. So like, I mean, in my opinion, it's always it was always been a feature. But
Yeah. So it's basically, that's the feedback we've been getting a lot as well. People asking what we see the future with this for, and many people have suggested, they said, oh, we can immediately see this as a TV series. And we've been having the discussion, but basically what I've told Tim is, because I feel like at some point we kind of felt pressured, this should be a television series, because that's what everybody keeps telling us, that's their feedback. But Tim's the writer. I mean, I give creative feedback on the story, but I'm not the writer, Tim is. What I keep telling Tim is, listen, if what you feel in your heart and your head is that it's supposed to be a feature, then write the feature, because it's much better to have a strong, really good quality feature than a shitty and half-assed, for lack of a better term, series, just because everybody says it should be a series. So I believe at the moment we're going for trying to see how it can work as a feature, potentially.
Yeah. And then maybe if we don't get anything, we'll try to do series if it's more commercially appealing.
Yeah, but things are in the works for a future for Dance with the Devil.
Any other questions? No? I'm nibbing you with your hand was raised there. Andy?
I was just wondering, you said that it was a small budget.
Yes.
How much did you actually...
It was like below 2K, wasn't it?
It was below 3K for sure. It was between 2 and 3K. Yeah.
And what's next? Like, are you working on something right now, or are you about to start working on something? What is next for both of you?
I mean, like, we're working on the script, but I mean, like, in terms of what's next, it's like it's hard to tell. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, especially with getting stuff acquired, like getting stuff developed. It's like one day you kind of have a lead and you like pursuing it, but then it's like. And it's like you have nothing. You kind of have to start all over again. So it's hard to say. I mean, like we'll have this weekend. We'll give people like, treatments to read and stuff.
Yeah.
But then on Monday I have to get to 9 to 5 and just play forward with life and then see where Dance with the Devil actually goes.
Yeah, because we both still work full time in the industry. So as he said, it's a bit difficult to find time to continue these projects on the side. I mean, I have other side projects going on as well, but it's, one step at a time.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for sharing the film with us. We really appreciate it, even though we were running very late. And we wish you all the very best for whatever happens next with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.